In simple terms, metaphysics is concerned with subject matter that is outside that of which is explained by the physical sciences. But can something be both real and outside the bounds of our physical reality? In our recent past, and even in many places today, the so-called God of the gaps has been used to plug the holes in our collective lack of knowledge. Phenomena such as the weather, seasons, plagues of pestilence and pest alike have all been considered acts of God, but are now well understood by science as the complex interplay between the physics of electrons and atoms, the chemistry of molecules and DNA, and the principles of mathematical logic that guides these processes. Considering how our knowledge of the physical realm has grown so dramatically in our recent human history, it begs the question, is there only the physical? Under what circumstances can something which is considered metaphysical exist outside of the material world? There is a story in the Bible of a blind man being healed miraculously by Jesus. Of course, this story fails to convince many not only of the divinity of Christ, but I would argue that in the strictest sense, it would fail to even be considered as a metaphysical event. We also must contend with the reasonable argument that this story may not be recounting an actual event at all. Let us consider a different hypothetical miracle, a thought experiment that will allow us to pry into the question of what it really means to be metaphysical. Let's say a child is born blind in modern times. The cause is obvious. Their retinas simply failed to develop. They have lived for decades, and their medical condition is well documented. There has been no improvement in their condition throughout their whole life, and there is no prognosis for any improvement. We have no documented evidence of any person with this condition improving after their birth. Then suddenly, one day, they claim to have a vision of Christ, telling them they are now healed, and spontaneously they can see for the first time in their life. After the initial shock, they go to the doctor. Examinations reveal that they now have perfectly formed and fully functional retinas. Surely this could serve as an example of a medical miracle. It is undeniable that something outside the realm of our physical understanding has occurred. But was it truly metaphysical? We have already established the fact that a God of the gaps is really no God at all. So the fact that this occurred at all is really no evidence of its miraculous or metaphysical nature. As impossible as this person's recovery seems to us, it may simply be just another gap in our knowledge that, in a few short years, we could have a complete understanding of, which could be explained in physical terms. But even if the story of this person's medical miracle is never explained, does it make sense to say that it is metaphysical? What is undeniable is to say that at one point, this person had no retinas, and then they did. And it is this fact, no matter what caused it, that has allowed our subject to see for the first time. Even if it was God that rearranged the atoms and molecules in the eye, created the new retinas from atoms that appeared straight out of the vacuum of space. In this case, the metaphysical power or will of God has to interact with our physical reality in order to manifest. And in this case, there will always be a physical explanation, or description at least, for anything which we might observe and consider to be metaphysical. If we reject phenomena such as this example, or really anything that happens within the physical reality, as not possibly being metaphysical on this basis, then we are left with a rather impotent definition of metaphysical events, strictly occurring outside of the observable universe. This leads me to my conclusion that if metaphysical phenomena exist at all, then there will always be a physical representation of such phenomena, and the fact that events have, or even just possibly have, a physical explanation does not rule out the possibility that they were of metaphysical origin. This leaves us, of course, with the even larger question: How do we determine if events which are physically observed have a metaphysical origin? And is such a determination even theoretically possible? It is questions such as these that fascinate me, and I will be discussing here at On Metaphysics. Together we will gain new insight into these mysterious realms, where even our best scientific understanding, personal intuition, and philosophical rationalizations are pushed to their limits. Please let me know in the comments below what you think about the physical manifestation of metaphysical processes. Do you agree with my conclusion that the two are ultimately inseparable? Do you think it is possible to determine if a physical event has a metaphysical origin? Thank you.